We're gathering up three strange friends and going up against the forces of evil. That means we're either recording a retro video game podcast or we're playing Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon on this episode of Doki Doki Game Club. Game Club. Hello and welcome to Doki Doki Game Club, a retro video game podcast. I am your host, Brandon Fincher, and I am joined today by my very own set of determined adventurers. Frank Martin.
Have at me.
Brian Grogan.
Hello.
And Mr. Joseph Luster.
What isn't a man?
On Doki Doki Game Club, we each take a turn choosing a particular title from video game history, and we announce the selection online so everyone can play along at home. From there, we have 2 weeks to spend with the title, at which point we reconvene to dig into the ins and outs of the selection. Today's pick was a wild card, and the title is Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon for modern consoles and PC. Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon was created as a bonus game for former Castlevania producer Koji Igarashi's crowdfunded Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. It was developed by NT Creates and released on May 24th for the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo 3DS, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, and PC, with the Xbox One version following on June 6th. All right, my little vampires.
Yes, indeedy.
The world is a vampire, and our podcast is also a vampire.
Yeah, just everything vampires right now.
It's true. Strangely enough, only one vampire in this game, not a bad guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's not much on vampires in this game.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
They're demons, right? Not vampires.
They are, they're demons, right? Yeah, so you can get away without any sort of real copyright infringement.
Yeah. They're definitely not Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
I want to begin by opening up. If you're listening to this and you have, for some reason, not played this game, be aware that we are going to talk about plenty of spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you're not caught up, come back at another point. Now, that said, let's dive right in. And I got to say, boys, this game was a joy. It was a joy, and it warmed these old vampiric bones.
Maybe the first time you've ever shown your cards so early in the cast.
I'm tipping it right away. It's a spoiler cast, and I'm gonna give you a spoiler of my love for this game. I'm tempted to write an aria, perhaps a sonata, about my love for this game. So, where to begin? Well, let's maybe put this game into some context for people listening, at least its place in Koji Igarashi's greater vision of a Castlevania universe. How to pare down this game. So it's important to note that the creator of this game, if for some reason you lived under a rock or you don't play, Castlevania is not your thing. Yeah, maybe you're just not a huge nerd. In which case, why are you listening to a retro video game podcast? But I digress. No, Koji Igarashi, a name we will probably mention many, many times through the course of the next hour or so, is the guy responsible for turning the side-scrolling action platformer of Castlevania into an RPG game. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, more or less.
I think so.
More or less,
definitely, even regardless of how much direct influence he had on that initial transformation, his name's associated with that style of Castlevania game for sure.
For sure. I mean, historically speaking, and we were talking about this before the cast, but Koji Igarashi took over on Castlevania Symphony of the Night about halfway into its production cycle. When the original director got promoted up, Koji took over, and the rest is history. So I like to think that even if he wasn't responsible for the direction of that game, he cut his teeth on that, and all the great portable games that we got that followed after that are directly responsible for his position, as that directing.
Yeah, he basically spent the next few years refining what Symphony of the Night established for Castlevania.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whether you like those portable games or not, I mean, there are definitely some hits and misses in there.
Sure.
For the most part, his batting average is quite good because they're some of the most fun Castlevania games, in my opinion, to play.
Yeah.
Certainly the most like immersive. I mean, it's not just that platforming action experience. There are things to chase down, which makes them all great portable games, in my opinion.
And because of the structure, like the actual, more so than the 8-bit entries or 16-bit entries, I'd say the castle itself or the location of the game becomes a central character.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
because of the fact that you're exploring rather than going from stage to stage.
Yeah, and as we move forward into actual talk about Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon, you'll see that there's a lot of parallels. I mean, he and I'm not quite sure the division of responsibility between Igarashi and NT Creates. I mean, is that his company directly? Does anyone
I don't think
aware
so.
of that?
I don't think so, but they're kind of like your go-to if you want to
Yeah.
bring someone on board to make a throwback game. Like they made Blaster Master Zero, which is very much a very faithful and robust remake of Blaster Master.
They also
Right.
did Mighty Number 9, which is,
Ooh, whoops.
Yeah.
Oops, yeah, wow.
That was
Yeah.
well, that was more concept though, wasn't it?
yeah, but I think Inti Creates was involved at some point.
Yeah. They also made, for a better Mega Man style game, I believe that they were responsible for a Zero Striker Gunvolt, if anyone played that.
Yes, that's a great game.
Yeah. So I'd say they have probably as many misses as they do hits, but when they hit, they're very good at making an authentic experience.
Yeah.
And how, yeah. So typically on the show, we would talk about our any sort of pre-existing knowledge of a game or experience with a game before we get started. This is one of these rare instances. The first instance of this happening, but we have a game that's brand new. So obviously none of us grew up with it. But I thought maybe we could use this segment of the show to talk a little bit about everyone's awareness of the Kickstarter campaign, and like kind of what your initial thoughts were when this concept for Igarashi to like take it to the internet and have the fans pay for it sort of came up. And did you follow the Kickstarter through? Has anyone contributed? First off, I guess that would be the thing I'm most interested in. Has anyone paid into this?
That was me. Yep.
Yeah. Was it you?
Yep. I joined.
Nice.
It was
So
yeah.
Brian,
It was weird.
be our guide into that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was weird. Like I'm not even like the world's like biggest Castlevania fan, but I there was such a buzz about it. Like it was like everybody's getting on, and like I don't know. I think I must have like just like paid off a car or something. I was like I felt really comfortable splurging $28 on the Kickstarter campaign. That
On a
was
non-existent game.
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll join in. I wasn't expecting the bonus game. That was I don't even remember. I don't even think that was one of the stretch goals.
No, it came out of nowhere. I think it was announced later as a stretch goal, but like I feel like by the time it was public knowledge, they're like, hey, it's out next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it snuck up out of nowhere, and I was the same. I mean, I didn't follow this. Okay, so Bloodstained was announced, the Kickstarter occurred, and I wanted to mention here, actually, I have the stats up in front of me, that this game generated $5,545,991 American US dollars. Which is insane.
Of the goal of 500,000.
right.
Yeah. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. No wonder we got a game that they were happy to charge us a second time for. Yeah. But anyhow. Yeah.
I got mine for free.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, per your, per your Kickstarter. Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that. So this game was announced, the game that we have yet to see, like the finished modern console version. And I was interested. Symphony of the Night, one of my favorite games, bar none. And Igarashi, I love the GBA and DS Castlevania games to death. And so I was really interested. And So there was all of this like hacky, like promotional stuff that followed while the Kickstarter was going on. Do you guys recall that?
It's so good though, because like that's part of Igarashi's charm is he's
totally
so
yeah. When I say
immersed in
hacky,
it.
don't take that as a derogatory statement. But it was it's him with a cowboy hat and a whip, and I was it's so corny.
I seriously I urge anyone listening to this, if you didn't watch the original promotional videos for Bloodstained, go watch them now because they're amazing. And he even went all out with a full set, like he's at the head of a table, or he's at like a big chair or something.
Yeah, it looks like he's
drinking wine.
Yeah, he looks like he's kind of like in a tower. It looks like a kind of like stone and like.
It's so good.
Yeah. So from these promotional videos that Iga made to announcing, kind of like giving the conceptual art, I was still on board. And them showing like the earliest stages of the game. And do you guys recall in some of those videos, like there's one where he's playing the game and it's like supposed to be him testing or coding, and it's like him with a mouse and a keyboard, but like he's not really doing anything.
No, he's just sitting at a computer.
Yeah, he's basically like sitting in front of a computer and like just like mashing on the keyboard and like clicking on the mouse.
That's how you
and,
make games.
Apparently, yeah. God, if it were only that easy. It's like what was the man? I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. What was the infomercial that aired like in the late 90s, early 2000s?
Tighten up the graphics on level 2.
Level 3, yes.
What was that even for?
It was for like a game college.
Yeah. Boy, that's funny. So anyhow, I'm taking the long way around to get to this, was that as they started announcing things and releasing things, I was really interested. And then a long stretch of time went by, as these Kickstarters tend to do, where we saw nothing. And then within the last year or so, things for the new game, like not the 8-bit one, but the modern game, started popping up. And it took like a hard transition and from its original aesthetic into something else, like 2.5D, everything looking super rendered. And I started to get a little down on it when that stuff popped up. So honestly, when Curse of the Moon, the game we're talking about today, was announced, I was a little like hesitant. And there might even have been some chat between us as a group, like where I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I just wasn't. It didn't excite me because I hadn't seen anything about it when the name first dropped. So,
and if you look at it at a quick glance, you're like, are they just cashing in on that Castlevania 3 look?
Is it going to be one of those like kind of cheap little Flash style 8-bit games? You know,
is it going to feel weird? Is it going to play bad?
I will say another thing because as a part of my job, I kind of have to follow this stuff on a regular basis. So I was always keeping an eye on the Bloodstained account. And I remember a big problem that it had was that Mighty Number 9 came out and it really, really sucked. And it kind of besmirched the entire concept of funding games on Kickstarter.
Well, at least when it came from like veterans in the scene, you kind of
exactly.
Yeah, because it was Keiji Inafune for that. And everyone was so excited about, an old Mega Man head coming back to bring something of like his old creation or like the old series he worked on to life. And that's a lot like what this is, where it's someone who was involved in a series kind of skirting copyright infringement to do the next entry.
And to be fair, we still haven't seen the final product, so it might still be kind of not that good. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm cautiously optimistic, if for no other reason than I enjoyed Curse of the Moon so much, and I loved the world that it created, even if it's a blatant homage. And I'm interested in the new game more now, having played this, than ever before. And I have to think that was some marketing whiz thought, oh man, well, I mean, let's give people the exact thing that they want, and then we will sell them on the thing that you want to make. And
I mean, if he can get his cake in 82, hopefully that'll be great. But
by all means,
we'll see.
Well, unless anybody has anything they want to talk about as far as the context of this game and history, I'm going to say it's time for the Back of the Box. Battle with swords and whips in this retro-style action game brought to you by game creator Koji Igarashi and NT Creates. Play as Zangetsu, a demon slayer bearing a deep grudge, who must travel through perilous lands to defeat a powerful demon lurking in a dark castle. Zangetsu will meet with fellow travelers along the way, who can join your journey as playable characters. Switching to these characters with their unique abilities and unlock new paths through the treacherous stages. Your choices in recruiting these adventurers will change the difficulty of the game and may even affect the ending. Okay, and there you have it. The closest thing that we were able to come up with to a back of the box, and that is courtesy of the game's info site.
Yeah, it was from the Switch page, which is probably just the approved PR of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Joseph, I dare say that we need some brave soul, some fearless vampire killer to step forward and give us a summarization of Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon.
I'll gladly slay these monsters. I'm auditioning to be a voice actor for Ritual of the Night. So
I think you've got the job.
Okay, sweet. I think it's probably going to be at that level of quality. All right, I'll give this a quick crack of the whip. Okay, if Bloodstained Ritual of the Night aims to make a new Castlevania game in the vein of Symphony of the Night, Curse of the Moon does so with an eye on NES entries like Castlevania III Dracula's Curse. It's classic side-scrolling, whipping and stabbing with sub-items, nefarious bosses, and a buck-wild castle that just won't quit throwing enemies and obstacles your way.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
I do dare say that is a nice, fair assessment. And, you know, actually reading or hearing you say that, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, I feel like this game, to kind of further impress on fans of Castlevania just how authentic this is, it feels like a Castlevania 4 that was not Super Castlevania 4. Like, let's say the NES life cycle got another 4 or 5 years out of it, and they created this game, and somehow with like an add-on chip of some sort,
and with like a new controller that adds a couple other buttons.
Yeah,
a couple of other
definitely.
buttons and a lot more RAM to put boss stuff.
yeah, definitely.
The VRC 8 chip.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Couple of extra
Perfect.
channels.
Right.
So, what is there to say about the overall structure of this game that fans of Castlevania would not be familiar with already? I mean, it is an action platformer.
Sure.
Igarashi's claim to fame, I think, would be the RPG-ization of Castlevania. Yep. Or at least that production team. And this game actually forgoes that. Yeah. There is no leveling up. There is no items. It definitely maintains a authentic 8-bit experience in that regard.
Yeah, it's very. It's like you said. It's Castlevania 3++.
And it takes much like the older games, like especially like Rondo of Blood. It has that opening where it's like you're getting to the castle.
Yeah.
And there. So I think in Rondo of Blood it was the big carriage back kind of sequence.
Oh yeah.
And in this one it's a train.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not on you're on the train.
At first you're not, but yeah, the train does. You do get to hop on for the second half of the stage.
So is that I'm just now thinking about that. So it's a very kind of cinematic and a masterclass in its simplicity, where the very first area of the very first stage has a very familiar Castlevania feel to
Absolutely.
it. You make your way across a small area from seemingly someplace else. Like you arrive to this area.
Just you and some candles, baby.
Exactly, right? Well, no longer candles. They're kind of like
lanterns.
Lanterns,
Purple lanterns.
Like floating purple lanterns, yeah. And you make your way across, you smash those things up, you get some sub-weapons, and you go through a door and you go from there. But as you're making your way across, there is a purpley black train making its way across the landscape. And not until now did I put two and two together that train is the same train that you get on to continue through this. Which is really a cool way to tell that story, right?
It's one of my favorite things about older games, as in the way that they convey atmosphere and story without, not that many of them had cutscenes anyway, but just the fact that you could get so much information from a stage just by playing from one end to the next.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. No one's telling you what it is. There's no... You're in control of the cutscene, essentially. You're seeing the story through playing it, which is the best way.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Now's the time of the show where we mention a modern game that does that very same thing.
What could that be?
Yeah, there's a certain certain game, Dork Souls, I think it's called. I'm not sure.
Dork Souls, that's the one. Yeah. That's the one. I need to play that one.
I thought it was Lords of the Fallen.
Okay, yeah.
Edit that, Frank. Cut that one right out.
Since we're talking about the first stage, was anybody else relieved when you started whipping those, or sorry, not whipping, but smashing the first lanterns and they didn't drop power-ups? Like the first 3 that you always collect powered up your main weapon. Right. I was like, okay, good. I didn't want to see that.
No.
Yeah, I don't think that I was filled with relief or anything. I mean, I was expecting it, and then it didn't happen, and I guess that was kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Because I think the archetype is more of a Alucard, where he has a sword, right? So he doesn't have a stat bonus to make his sword bigger. So it was kind of like, okay,
that's true.
Yeah, I see that now. Yeah.
Castlevania 1's protagonist is done in the same sort of color scheme as Zangetsu, which is that sort of rusty red, brown, tan color, burnt sienna, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. And so katana, sub-weapons, much similar to every other Castlevania game, as opposed to... so you collect hearts, and hearts equal health, which makes much more sense than...
Hearts being power-ups,
Yeah, being currency,
that actually,
weapon, sub-weapon
that
currency.
Actually threw me off. Like I was expecting. It's just funny. Like I kind of would have preferred if it was meat rather than hearts.
Yeah, but every single thing I think is just barely trying to not get sued by Konami.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming the most of the money from the Kickstarter definitely went into legal.
Legal.
Yeah. And
well spent.
I'm assuming their lawyer was like absolutely no wall meat.
Yeah. We got wall hearts instead.
And, wall hearts and wall money, which is kind of on the walking the line.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. So let's just go ahead and let's just pound out the similarities in Castlevania, just in terms of like roughness of just a rough overview of things that this game shares. So the aforementioned floating lanterns, hearts instead of meat.
Sub-weapons that are very similar.
They're powered through blue vials.
Yeah.
Kind of like if that felt a little more like every other game, like kind of like an RPG.
It was like Ninja. It was like Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, like a mana of sorts, I guess.
Yeah. And you play Zangetsu. You unlock 3 other characters in the game, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But each of those characters have their own sub-weapons.
And main weapon.
Standard weapons and main weapons, which is really cool. They all have different weights to them in terms of like their abilities to jump. Maybe not weight, but
different jump height for sure.
How high and how far forward they can jump. How far out they can attack. So their range is different from character to character, which is really, really cool. And like that's the thing in my mind that stood out the most as I was playing it, where I was like, man, this is like Castlevania 3 2 or B or plus or whatever.
It's so much. It's like there's so many quality of life improvements made on Castlevania 3. Like just the fact that once you recruit characters, you can switch between them in an instant. Because in Castlevania 3, it's like, oh god, I have to transform to another character. Let me like sit aside 5 seconds to watch this sequence.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And it's what's even better than that. So like the instant gratification that modern console gaming gives us with so many buttons on the controller that we didn't have back then, and all of that is amplified with them actually. So it would have been nice enough for them to just do that, right, and make it quick and satisfactory. But you also get the ability to chain these characters together in useful ways that allow you to like navigate or deal with certain enemies.
That reminded me a lot of Symphony of the Night, where you can switch to a bat form and then kind of switch to something else.
Definitely. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in those terms because you're getting a separate character who has a bunch of its own things going on. But no, absolutely. That's definitely a fair comparison. So yeah, I guess maybe let's list off the characters here. So aside from Zangetsu, who do we have? Who's the first character you unlock after Zangetsu?
Miriam.
Yeah.
The protagonist.
I didn't even think about that either. So anybody besides the handful of 80s metal nerds that might get that reference, Miriam is a character in a King Diamond song, and Abigail. And man, I'm even more in love with this game now that that's dawned on me. So thank you for that, Joseph. So you unlock Miriam,
who is the not Belmont.
Who's the not?
Yeah, Miriam.
She's the lead of Bloodstained, right? Am I wrong about that?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Main
Yeah,
character.
which was the thing. So she was my favorite character playing this game, and for her to be the main character in the other game, it also adds to my interest in playing it.
Sure.
So, she is a purple motif, like light purple and darker purple, and she has a whip, and her sub weapons
fully upgraded whip.
Oh yeah, it's
fully
long.
upgraded. Yeah, a long whip. But unfortunately, it's not a vampire killer Morningstar esque kind of a thing.
Straight leather.
It's like if
whip.
Simon Belmont's first whip got longer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Totally. Yeah, and you can't turn it on fire or anything cool like that. That would have been nice, but maybe in the other version.
I would assume there's a little bit more trickery in the full game than just whipping stuff.
In the upcoming one. So that's a fine moment to mention this. So there is at the time that we will post this episode, if you're listening to this, E3 happened recently, and they Bloodstained the Ritual.
Ritual of the Night.
Moon? Ritual of the Night released like 15 minutes of actual gameplay footage.
Oh wow! Okay, I haven't seen that.
I sat down and watched it. We can link it in the show notes if I can remember to do so. And it was cool. It takes place on the 15 minutes take place on a pirate ship of some sort.
That was the demo.
Miriam.
There was a demo that came out like last year for Kickstarter exclusives.
Yeah, I think it might be an enhanced version of that, maybe, or maybe like an
okay.
updated version. I'm not sure how much they've done to it since then, but yeah.
Yeah, but the one I watched was definitely dated 2018 E3.
Yeah.
So
I watched that. I watched the same
I'm
one.
just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying that I remember seeing that gameplay, so it's cool that they're kind of just working on that to show maybe some big differences between the both of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different things. I mean, and it is very, very Symphony of the Night. She has, in the 8-bit game here, she has a whip, and Ritual of the Night, she has a. She starts off with a knife or a dagger or something very similar to Alucard. Well, not starting off with it, but ending up with it. You can change her wardrobe based on items you pick up. Kind of similar to changing Alucard's capes. I don't know. It just looks really cool. And but I was pleased to see that Miriam appears to at least be the main protagonist in this, based on that one scene, because she is a cool character.
And the PR is definitely all around her, so I don't think we'll have the ability to change any characters, as far as I know, in the main. game.
Man, see, I kind of hope that's not the case, but I mean, it won't be the deal breaker or anything. But I enjoyed that so much, and I would be interested to see, if nothing else, please, Koji Igarashi, please make sure that you have these other characters in the game somewhere. I mean, I don't necessarily need to play them, but
I think Gable, we'll get to him. Jebel, I think he was in the cutscenes in that, wasn't he? I'm not sure. It might have been someone else that looked kind of like
Jebel is. So if you watch that clip, that he appears to have changed his allegiances.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
And so the whole plot seems to be centered around her attempting to save his soul or something. I don't know. In the 8-bit version, we don't get a lot of these characters' backgrounds.
No.
Zangetsu's kind of the character we get the most, and even that's not a ton. We just know that he is like the driving force to the story in this one, and he comes up with he meets these characters along the way who all appear to have a similar. God, what did he refer to them as? Soul shards or something?
like that, yeah.
Right. They
have
harness
some
power
sort
of
of
demons somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some sort of demon ability.
They're tainted.
Yeah, and I think that he has that same ability, but he's kind of like self-loathing about it. In like a couple of the little exchanges, I got that impression that it was like he has that problem, they have that problem. His tendency would be to not ally with them based on the 2 or 3 lines of interaction that you get, and then you choose to.
He seems very self-centered, and he's just like, I'm going to use you to get my end goal.
Right.
Basically, I think is what he's saying. So
kudos to whoever was responsible for writing this game. Just with those couple of lines of dialogue, you certainly end up with these enough information to make the plot of this game and these characters interesting.
Sure.
Which I thought was pretty cool. So from Miriam, the whip master,
She can also jump higher
unlock...
and slide as well.
Yeah.
That's
true. Which another thing that makes her fun to play with. And the game like rewards you for teaming up with these characters because you've got certain parts that just can't be navigated with Zangetsu because he's kind of just your meat and potatoes, middle of the road kind of a character. And like you said, Miriam can slide under broken walls and you can make further jumps. But after Miriam, you unlock Alfred, the
old little wizard man.
Yeah, your typical wizard character.
It's definitely not Sypha or whatever.
Definitely not. Copyright.
Yeah. No.
Old man,
not Belmont, not Sypha.
Yeah. Not a young woman, an old man.
Yep.
It's
just like how Miriam is not a Belmont because she's a woman. So
yeah.
We can take a sidestep on that.
No, I know.
Female Belmonts.
There are some present, but
yeah. So Alfred, kind of a neat character, kind of hard to play with. He has almost no range. He relies almost solely on his sub weapons. He has like
which use
staff.
a lot of power.
Yeah, I would say that I like Alfred as a character. I like him because you have 4 characters to choose from. You unlock them all fairly early, and then it becomes a matter of like, how do you use them together, or who's your favorite? How do you like to play the game? And then the game, it becomes a whole different experience depending on who you play with.
He has some cool spells. Like he has this one that shoots out this orb that kind of bounces back and forth between its target and keeps hitting it for like duration of 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, like the lightning one, I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's the one you're talking about, right? The lightning one.
And did you realize you can actually shoot out a few of those at a time?
Yeah.
And then so
I don't think I did.
Yeah,
they were so costly in terms of their the sub weapon currency, the hearts or the vials. The one thing that I found was really cool about him was that with his ice ability, but more so with his fire ability, he has the ability to create a ring of fire around himself, which enables you to move through and attack enemies, or it'll destroy certain projectiles, which so it just kind of acts as, it's like a buff, it acts as a barrier. But what's cool is you can activate it and then switch to another character.
Yep. And it stays on,
Yeah, so, so the next character, Jebel, he's basically Alucard from Castlevania 3. Not Alucard.
Yeah, what's Alucard back?
Yeah, he's that.
I think he's
Right.
But yeah, so a neat instance with Alfred is activating that fire, switching to Jebel, and then flying as a bat.
Oh wow, I never did that.
I didn't either.
Wow, I didn't
Yeah.
even think about
Yeah.
doing that.
Time to play again.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give it a shot because it's cool.
I used to do that with the main characters. He has an ability where it kind of like gives you a buff It's like the
and it just basically doubles his damage output.
Yeah, and I would switch over to Miriam, and then was like,
oh, that's smart.
I didn't know you could do that either.
See, I never tried that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just assumed. See, man,
I didn't start using that until not to get too deep into it, but until I did a solo Zangetsu run. I didn't really start using that buff until that. So
yeah,
it's great.
Same here. Yeah, I mean, basically, once Miriam came into the picture, I was much less inclined to. I think she makes the whole thing easier.
Yeah.
But so that's our 4 characters. Zangetsu, Miriam,
we should mention
Alfred, and
that Jebel, his bat attack, not just transforming into a bat, but his bat attack is a very interesting, interesting move because it shoots an arc of bats upward, which is actually
that is important.
It is actually really
because...
good. I kind of found myself using that a lot toward the end of the game, especially toward enemies that were like dropping frogmen kind of guys. Because you could just walk through and just keep like spamming that move, and you would catch them right as they came in front of you.
Definitely. And
before I was gonna say, before I forget to mention this, but I was playing early on in the game, and I was thinking, oh, when are the flea men gonna show up? Because there would have to have some,
absolutely.
Right? Oh yeah.
And then those frogs showed up, and I was like, God,
and I like, I thought it was cool, and they're not so annoying. I mean, the game has your Medusa heads in the form of the. Did anybody notice that when I refer to those Medusa head characters, you know who I'm talking about?
Are they the arms?
Yeah, okay.
Is that what they are?
They're like hands. They're like blue hands with an eye in the middle. And if you look closely at the sprite, like I could not help but think of
Vampire Hunter D.
The blue. No, I couldn't help but think of like Jimbo Phillips, like the skateboard artist that did the blue screaming hand for Thrasher.
Yeah. That's like
that's like
an iconic skateboard.
Yeah,
art.
if you see it, Frank, I know you'll recognize it. Okay. It's basically a severed blue hand, like that's in a sort of claw-like position, with a mouth open, and the mouth is like screaming. It looks basically like this enemy, but with a instead.
What are
of the
the dates on that? I wonder though, because like I wonder if that skateboard design was like really inspired by Vampire Hunter D, because so much of skateboarding is, like I mean by like anime, like.
Right, no, you really. I think you maybe you skated hookups.
I did skate hookups a
lot. I figured you probably did.
I had all the hookup shirts.
That's funny.
I just want to say that on the record, all skateboarding is all influenced by Vampire Hunter.
Yes,
you heard it here first.
Every move, every trick is from the original OVA.
Yeah, that one OVA.
Tony Hawk's half vampire.
Tony Hawk's pro bloodlust.
Right.
Oh man.
Okay, so you've got these 4 very different characters, very different play styles, giving you 4 unique experiences on how to play through this game. And as I mentioned, you get to unlock them each fairly early in the game, and it becomes at that point a matter of mixing and matching to your likeness or to your preference. So this game has some. So maybe we'll move into talking about the stage layout to this one. So. We mentioned the train, and between each stage, in proper not Castlevania fashion, you have a map that as you move from location to location, you hit a dot, and then you travel through on a line from point A to point B, and you get to see this sort of not Transylvania European landscape, and I don't know, just super super cool, excellent. An excellent way to take you to the different types of locations that this game has to offer. So you start off, the stage is called Moonlight Temptation.
And by the way, all the names of stages in this game are absolutely incredible.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Like metal, like
very
song
heavy
names.
Metal song,
Right.
Yeah. So
they're all actually White Snake album.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking closely. Might be King Diamond songs.
Maybe,
I'm not sure. Merciful Fate.
I think they should have saved all of these for different subtitles for future Bloodstained games.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Because as I know from personal experience, it's difficult to come up with a fake Castlevania title.
Yeah.
You really have to scramble for that. So these guys have nailed out at least 8 of them to great success. So Moonlight Temptation takes you through a town. That sound right?
Yeah.
You go into a building. You're making your way. It's essentially you're approaching a train station. The train station is in a town.
Yeah.
And then you get on a train and take your way forward from there. You take a pit stop at a an ice mine, a frozen cave. I'm not quite sure. You don't really mine ice, so I'm not sure what else to call that.
I don't know why you go into that cave to begin with. I think you just start going into a cave.
Yeah, well, I mean, the train is stopped when you fight the first boss, and maybe we can kind of talk about this stage by stage and boss by boss if you want.
Well, the train is I'm looking at the map right now. So the train goes into a mountain.
Oh, okay, well that makes sense.
Okay, so maybe it breaks down there.
And then it breaks down in it because you killed the train.
Yes.
Yes. Man, this game had no problem being bold with these boss
And the
layouts.
boss name is Glutton Train. That's the official boss name, by the way. I didn't make that one up.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's good. Cool, excellent way. I mean, so massive sprite, right? Like this game does a great job with making these huge boss sprites. And it comes right out of the gate with this one. You have this giant contraption, this giant steampunk demon, furnace beast.
Yeah, I assume this is like the engine of the train, basically, come to life.
Yeah. Demon possessed train.
I'm wondering if it's kind of like a Mega Man thing where it was initially built as this sentient being, but then got possessed, or was
Are we going deep into the lore because we can do that?
Oh, please, that's my bread and butter. We got to be careful with that. No, I like the idea of being that we've established that demons are a problem. And that there is a human population in this world. I like the idea of like demons being able to possess inanimate objects, a la Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Like that's fun to me. So
I can get down with that.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. So a train got possessed. We can go with that.
Yeah. So we're gonna say a train got possessed.
And let me just say one of my favorite tropes in anything, and it's not like it's all over the place. I just love ghost trains. I love evil trains. Final Fantasy VI suplex a train.
Final Fantasy VI. Yeah.
Yep. And this game does a great job when you get into the train proper. The layout of the train cars themselves, excellent stage design. Like the look of it. Like there are booths and like you would see on a normal train, like seats and tables and chandeliers.
What I like about it is that it's a straight hallway, fine, but to give it some flair, you have to go outside, go up the stairs, and then go.
By the way,
down.
Brandon just revealed how fancy he is. He's like you see on normal trains, chandeliers.
Yeah, right.
Like fancy light fixtures. How about that?
Here's another proposal, not to get on another huge tangent, but so we know there's demons in this world, but what if it's kind of like Berserk, where these people that are tainted, let's call them tainted, attract these demons. So
I'm into that.
So what if this train wasn't possessed, but because this guy is on the train?
Is your fan? What's the URL?
So he's
for
the
your
reason.
fan fiction?
Yeah, please. If this isn't the actual lore, let's just go ahead and write this game out here on the air.
Yeah. I'm gonna send my resume to Iga.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, no, don't do that because he's obviously has no qualms about stealing from another company. Okay, I love you, Eagle. So we get into a mountain, a frozen mountain, because you've destroyed the train, and you have to hoof it.
And what's the stage called?
Yeah,
it's called Frigid Hell.
I love it so much.
It's real good. It's real good. Yeah. That satisfies the Dante's Inferno fan in me.
Yeah.
The idea of a frozen hell.
Yeah.
So you make your way through. Excellent stage overall. Love the blue motif. No annoying slippage.
No.
As is so often the case in ice stages. But plenty of ice appropriate enemies. You get some giant frozen golems. I mean, I don't want to short sell the average enemy in this game. I mean, everything is just really well thought out.
Yeah.
I really love the enemy design because
they brought back.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say they brought back these weird enemies from stage 1 that I don't know exactly what they look like. They kind of look like a female body part that kind of comes out and has like a cape. Do you know what I mean?
Are you referring to like the red ones that sort of sway
Yeah.
back and forth?
Yeah.
Man, really good, really awesome animation for those enemies. Like
Sure.
just creepy. Like
But what
like,
are they?
Yeah.
Just like a
some
monster?
sort of Crimson Wraith kind of a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I
We'll
guess.
call
I'm
it
not.
that.
Yeah, so, some of the designs. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at, but that's 8-bit art in general.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it'll translate better in the full game because I know some enemies in the ship are the exact same enemies that are in the demo.
Yes,
I
yeah.
remember seeing that.
In
So-
fact,
Yeah, I
what's funny
noticed
is
that as well.
the ones in the upcoming game that were the same in this one, that like kind of like jellyfish looking dudes, like they actually look more impressive and large in this game than they do in the new one.
That's true. Yeah, because your
yeah.
sprite is smaller in this game than it is that it's going to be in the
Yeah.
main line, but
Right.
the enemies seem to be the same size. So you're smaller, but the enemies are bigger. I don't know. Yeah, more
Very
impressive.
cool enemies, and I think they actually, it's easy to make a game like this and end up with enemies that are kind of just okay, like Mitsume Gatoru kind of enemies, like just like
Yeah.
where it's just
Right.
like you get what it is. It's a
Serviceable.
troll. It's a
Yeah.
troll doll. I get it, but all of them were cool.
Yeah, and they had like it seemed like they had a reason. There was like there was thought.
Yeah, good
behind it, not
good
just, like-
placement, and good just character design in general.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like, oh, let's have a golem.
Yeah.
like there's a
Yeah, no, they look great. They're hulking, menacing creatures,
Yeah.
and and the game does an excellent job in terms of its item placement,
Yeah.
and in terms of how it releases allies to you, in like giving you areas that using the ally makes it more easy to play through. But also the same can be said for the sub weapons. So I think of the golems in particular, and I can recall playing with Zangetsu, smashing a floating lantern, getting his sort of
vortex.
Taoist Shinto scroll.
Oh yeah, the one
kind
that
of,
smashes down like holy
power-up.
water.
Yeah,
Not holy water.
not holy water. Yeah, I really like that. And yeah, he shoots this projectile. It's a purple vortex kind of a thing. Doesn't really pull anything in though, so maybe vortex isn't the right word.
It's a
but
swirly.
it stays in position. Yeah, it just swirls. And so I can think of the time when you first see that, and then you smash that golem with it. Just really cool. Like I like the placement for that, and that's pretty Castlevania as well. Like here's an axe that you throw in an arc, and here's a suit of armor on the level above where you're standing.
Yeah.
And it's fun to put those little pieces
Yeah,
together.
that
like
first level was like expertly crafted for that because like you would get the diagonal whip sub weapon, and then all of a sudden there's these bats that are coming down towards you. So like it's perfect. Like, and then they would give you the next one for the next one. It's great.
The other side of that coin, however, and an equally favorable coin, is that you come across enemies in stage 3, the Brilliant Void. And I don't want to skip over the boss for Frigid Hell, but I do want to talk about this for a second. Is you have these sort of red and pink colored enemies that are like lurking on all fours, and they're crawling across the ceiling like xenomorphs or something from Aliens, and they will fall on you. And at that point, you have not unlocked Jebel yet.
Yeah.
And so you really don't have an ally or even a sub weapon really capable of shooting directly upwards. And so it can be kind of frustrating. And it provides a challenge, and you kind of have to figure out how you're going to move through the area, and I guess sort of bait them into falling.
Yeah, that's what you have to do pretty much.
I didn't have a lot of success
Usually,
with that. If I'm being
yeah,
honest.
what I found is that you have to step into them maybe like a pixel or two and then back out. And that was the only real viable option.
But it's cool because this game has areas that are only accessible with certain characters, and they show you these areas early on, and then at any point in the game you can you bring up a pause menu, and there's a feature called Curse of the Moon, and if you use the Curse of the Moon feature, you can go back and play the previous stages with another character. Did you guys do any of that?
I saw the option like on my third playthrough. I mean,
Are you sure that you go back?
You can
with that
actually use the
character?
other character. Yeah,
I thought you just brought back time.
I
like
thought it
you-
was just
you
to
had
I didn't actually try it because it said like make up for your past mistakes.
And I just assumed, so I should probably have confirmed that before I said that. But I can't imagine that they would take them away, because then what do you just
No, they definitely do. 'cause
replay the stage?
Yeah,
They
you
take
just,
the characters away?
Yep.
Okay, well, Nevertheless, when you
think-
go through
I
this
think
game a
those-
second time,
Yeah,
But that's what I think it's for. Is like when you're in the first level and you see those areas that you can only access with, let's say,
Miriam or someone like for
yeah.
sliding.
Exactly. Yeah, you just go, oh, I can go there. Not now.
So, I mean, I don't know why you would want to in a second playthrough, but if you went back on a second playthrough, you would presumably have all three characters anyhow, right?
Yeah.
So you know, it's not like it's just.
I think it's mainly if you miss an item, like let's say like you didn't have one of your characters alive at that point, and then you go back, it's like I really could have gotten that item.
But also when you go back and play through again, and you have Miriam who can slide, then all of a sudden you're doing a better. Or you're going like on better routes throughout the stages.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this game really does the best version of a fork in the road. Like Castlevania 3 tried to do that. I mean, they did it as best they could, I guess. Where you go up, you go down. You go one way, you're going to end up with Grant. You go one way, you're going to end up with Alucard.
Because in this one, there were some stages I'd go back to, and I'd be like, I'd play the game 3 times at this point, and I'd be like, I've never been in this room. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've played it 3 times as well, and there is a stage in particular, and I actually asked Brian about it because I knew he was kind of devoting a lot of time to this game at one point. And there is a room in one of the later stages. It's once you're in the castle, so it's got to be 7 or 8, where it's like barred off with a metal door, but then you see on the other side of that metal door. Like a proper door that you could enter through. And man, I threw ice at it. I tried to hit it with sub weapons. I tried to hit it with all the enemy or all of the characters.
Is that the one where you also have to freeze the beast below it to get to it?
No,
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know because this is like
yeah.
kind of far off, and only certain enemies or only certain allies can even reach it. Yeah, I'll have to dig through. I think I probably still have an image of it on my phone. I literally sent the picture to Brian and said, "Do you have any idea how to?"
Do you guys
open
know
this door?
which one I'm talking about? There's one where there's a giant like enemy on the bottom of the stage.
Yeah, it's like a chimera.
You can freeze him with Alfred, and then get on top of him, and then break the wall.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, really cool. Yeah. This game does just such a great job of like giving you these forking paths that only certain characters can get through. So yeah, the Brilliant Void. First off.
Hit me up with that second stage boss.
Yes, sorry. So that second stage boss, excellent. That is just a sign of like a designer going, I'm going to have all the fun I want to have. And I'm going to make this crazy transforming sea turtle centaur. Does that sound right?
It's Gamera.
Basically, yeah. Because
It is good. Yeah,
turtle shell.
Chimera.
Well, it's Gamera, but with
a Sentai coming out of it.
Yeah, making it like a centaur version of Gamera. Yeah. Just really cool. Yeah, like I so much fun. Like, why is it in a frozen mountain?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Ask
Who
Frank.
cares? It's awesome. Yeah, Frank. Yeah, as our Curse of the Moon lore historian, please elaborate on why there is a centaur.
Well, the turtle was there before, and the man was there hunting the turtle, and then because you got close to it, a demon merged them together.
I thought you were just gonna say they had sex.
Bravo.
But
I was expecting sex, and I was really glad that you went classy with it, and then Joseph went. And
You can
ruined
leave it to me.
So, you
So-
know, yeah.
This is actually what I wanted to bring up. This boss, and there's a few bosses. I think actually most of the bosses. If you don't know that some attacks are coming, then you're not going to be able to dodge them.
Yeah.
Which is like
So
a small.
which ones with this guy in particular, if you wouldn't mind?
Okay, so like when the turtle boss goes off the screen, I guess upwards, and then and then starts dropping stuff on you. Like you know, perhaps if you had if you have like superhuman ability to see that coming, like you would be able to dodge the boulders that it drops. However, when it itself drops, you'd have to have been moving before it actually starts.
it took me like four or five times to even figure out how to dodge the rocks.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: like the game does this, like, and it does this with the bosses a lot. However, you have enough health, and it's overall easy enough that it doesn't really matter. But it does kind of irk me that that they did this.
There's no telegraphing sometimes.
Right. And then all the bosses have like a death throw final attack. And
that is cool though. I found that really nice.
Love it.
Now,
love it.
on the downside, like especially this one, like if you have to be jumping and then.
I don't even think a jump will save you. I think you. Need
I don't think it kills. I don't think it kills you though.
It does not kill you.
That's the thing. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Even if you're at 1 health, yes, it will not kill you. So that's. I didn't know maybe if there was like a different mode like that. It doesn't do that. Maybe on the boss
No,
fight.
I played Veteran and Nightmare.
Yeah, because I've gotten to the
that,
end and had 1 health and been like, oh great, I'm gonna die no matter what because I don't know how to dodge their final attack yet.
So it's all cinematic. But no, I've seen
and I love it. I love it to death.
Yeah,
I think it's so fun. I wish that every 8-bit game ever
had a death
throw, like a giant death throw. Yeah. Yep.
That's great. But I wish it killed you because I think you should.
No.
I think you should come prepared for it. I like that.
But because it's so cinematic, there's really, I mean, with most of the enemies, there's almost like no way to avoid it.
Yes.
I mean, with the train boss, you could jump behind the platform once you know it's coming, and like it completely misses you.
But the thing, you don't know it's coming is the thing. So,
yeah.
Well, it telegraphs it like it telegraphs its other moves, and you're kind of expecting it. Like I remember the first time and going like, "Oh, okay, I guess I didn't kill him. I guess there's like a phase 2, and I thought he was going to shoot his fire and so I was just waiting to move out of the way. But then I got blasted in the face by that heat ray that he does.
And now that you know it's coming, you can avoid it.
Yeah.
But
if you did second time I played
think
it.
so. The second time I played it, I was like, why do I keep forgetting that he's going to do that?
But like the turtle one, I have no idea how to dodge that.
Yeah, you have to time it exactly right, and you have to know exactly when it's coming. If you're in the air as it appears on the screen, then as you drop down, it'll go over your head.
I think you have to be Miriam
I saw some
or Super
boss
Zangetsu
rushes about it. Miriam, yeah.
Or like in the second
or
playthrough,
you're right. Super Zangetsu. So,
Anyways,
that's a small detracting thing that got me. I also would have liked some boss health meters, but
spoilers. That's going to knock down Brian's score of 0.5.
It might. Yeah, he sounded pretty serious about that, so we'll have to wait and see. Well, okay, so once you've destroyed the Centaur Gamera, you move on to a stage called the Brilliant Void. Now that I'm thinking about this stage, I'm not quite sure where it
seems
is in this landscape.
It seems like an Egypt kind of stage.
It is very Egypt, kind of a temple, like stone temple, sort of a.
I'm gonna go
underground.
back. I'm gonna go back and look at the map. So when
pull one up there, because I'm curious, like in a sort of normal natural lay of the land, so to speak. I mean, like a train track, a village, a mountain, those things all make sense. A castle makes sense. And then there's like why is there a pyramid here?
Yeah, so it's not technically a pyramid. So if you look at the map, it's a train track coming out of the woods, going into a mountain, and then next to that mountain, when you come out of it, it looks like a ruin of like it would be like of a palace or something.
Okay.
And
okay.
Yeah, and then next to that palace, you have these huge pillars, not pillars, but towers, and then those towers are next to the ocean where the boat is.
All right, I can buy all that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That
Thank you to our resident cartographer
and more cartographer, historian. Man, he's something else today. So the Brilliant Void, a very fun temple, like a descending temple kind of a stage. Like crazy boss again.
To me, I like that boss. There was this boss and another one that we're gonna get to, but this one was the design of it. I loved. It was just
so
like,
cool.
What is this?
It almost felt like it might be the gold thing, but it almost felt like a DuckTales kind of vibe about it.
Yeah.
There's like
you fall into his money bin, and he's like a giant top-hatted, kind of almost like robotic magician.
Is there a monocle?
Like
there's
robot
definitely a monocle.
Yeah, and his body's made out of gold because it like drips out of him.
Well, that's a very Castlevania thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, is it Symphony of the Night? The bat that is accumulation
Castlevania 4,
of
I think it's like in the treasure room.
Oh, you're right. It is 4. Yeah.
And Legion and stuff like that. Yeah.
Now note that it's made out of coins, and you know, like it sends you big piles of money that you have to whip to climb. Or not, not necessarily whip, but
or avoid being hit.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you notice when you actually attack that pile of coins, the boss flashes, right?
Yeah,
correct.
You actually are hurting the boss, and I got confirmation. Well, I got this myself. Like I actually that was the death hit that I got on the boss one of the times when I hit the coins. I was like, okay, so it actually does damage. But I got confirmation from Syndra, the friend of the show and former Powerline submitter. She noted you do half
and massive Castlevania,
yes,
huge,
authoritarian,
huge one, yeah. She noted that you do get it's half damage.
Some damage done.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when you hit the pile of coins.
Nice.
Yep.
Here's another tidbit that I just noticed watching the boss fight. After you kill the boss, it seems it was all an illusion because it turns into a crypt. All the mountains are skull heads, and there's tombstones.
It was an illusion devised by Satan.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, again, just awesome. I mean, just a really cool stage overall. I mean, like that whole temple thing. And then you fall into this, treasure trove. But it's weird. It's like, what is the purpose of making it look like gold if it's only going to try to destroy you? I mean, maybe the idea is that you're enticed into this area.
Yeah.
And then
maybe all those skull heads are actually just the people that went in to get the treasure.
This is the brilliant void.
That's true. Yeah, that is the brilliant void, right? Brilliant because of the gold, and then
and a brilliant trap.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you've got this giant golden magician that you've destroyed, and that leads you out of the temple, past the mountain, and into
kind of like the towers,
onto
right?
The ship?
No, it's like
towers.
the towers.
The towers. Okay.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, some of these other titles aren't quite as like I'm looking at the names, and
but
going,
this is one of the best titles of all time. Also,
amen to that. This stage is entitled "Blasphemy unto Heaven."
Oh.
Yeah, which sounds like a goth metal.
I've got my metal horns up right now.
Yeah, definitely. So who wants to lay out the motif of this stage? Because I'm even despite beating this game three times
what I
now,
recall,
I
this
can't
is more of
recall
like a
which one
spire kind of level where there's a bunch of different towers. Like
Yeah, and when you start it looks exactly like Castlevania 2's town. Like it has like everything's made out of brick, but in the background, like, there's some broken buildings and stuff, and the green and the kind of like brown colors.
Okay, you said the green,
and this is like an ascension
level.
Green this is like going upwards, whereas in a lot of the Brilliant Void, you were going down into that pit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so then after that opening area, you go from tower to tower, and those in between tower parts are the parts where the not fleamen frog guys get dropped, and you have to jump around, jump up.
Yeah, that's a fun stage, and it's got some great enemies. I love it's game making 101, but I'm still impressed with it. Even at 38, almost 38 years old, with when you go from stage to stage, and it's like this stage is blue, and they can make it blue without being annoying, and this stage is now green, and it makes sense. It's green algae covered brick, and an old moldy tower, and I don't know. It's just does a great job. The color palettes
in this game are incredible,
itself.
and it's definitely the sign of developers who have just kind of mastered the NES style, just to bring out the exact right colors to evoke something new for each stage, but also kind of an air of familiarity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a great mix of like having the pseudo limitations of the NES where you would have to use all these colors, but then kind of accentuating it and making it their own. So but something that I just noticed on the last tower, it looks a lot like that tower in Symphony of the Night where you had those bells in the middle. Do you guys remember?
It's not like that though, because this is not Castlevania Symphony of the Night. TM, this is Bloodstained.
No, and you don't jump on them, but they're in the background. I wonder if that's just a nod to it because I'm looking at it right now.
So Frank, you've sent me down this rabbit hole, and I'm gonna refer to you on this. Okay, so we've got Moonlight Temptation. A title that literally describes the setup of the game. You have Frigid Hell, literally a Frigid Hell. You have a Brilliant Void, which we've already discussed, the reason why it's titled such. Blasphemy unto Heaven. What happened at this tower in the city that made it blasphemy?
Oh,
I have an answer for this.
Oh, do you?
Do you?
I'm gonna say I was gonna go Anor Londo, not Anor Londo, but New Londo.
Okay.
But, you go ahead.
I immediately think of Tower of Babel, the biblical story.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Joseph, was
I
that
had
your go-to
two.
on
I
that?
have kind of two thoughts on the matter. I think the Blasphemy Unto Heaven might just be the construction of this tower in general, because it's such a tall tower, and it has such a defiling.
That would be like Tower of Babel,
Yeah.
right?
And
I mean,
but
that's
in this case, it
yeah.
has defiled creatures within it, and also I think the creation of the boss, Valak, is a blasphemy unto heaven, because it's a giant gnarly Hydra.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
Yeah.
because you don't even fight the thing at the top of the tower. It's like you go like halfway up the tower outside, and then you're fighting the boss.
Well, that's just where he
Yeah.
was.
You get about as high as you could get. You
Yeah.
know, maybe the tower was destroyed
Maybe
above
they
that.
didn't have
maybe.
stairs going up any higher.
Or maybe they had already designed a boss fight where you're on top of a tower later on in the game.
Oh, yeah,
and
wink,
decided,
wink.
we can't do that.
Oh, and this is another great for the long diehard fans of Doki Doki Game Club. There is a bubble boss.
You bet your bottom.
Yeah,
Yep, got that bubble neck.
bubble neck boss.
Yep. So giant. So okay, when you think of green, the most contrasting color to that is of course pink.
Yeah, pink and
and
purple.
man, this boss is pink. I mean, he's real pink, and it's quite contrasting and eye catching. Fun boss fight. Great use of platforms and kind of spacing, because you have this massive non-humanoid boss fight. I mean, similar at least in those regards to the Brilliant Void boss fight, where it's kind of you're not just attacking a single person. You've got hands and other things to worry about. So you have this giant thing, and you've got to worry about this two-headed Hydra. Is that right? There were
It
two
starts
heads,
two-headed,
you,
then you fight the last head.
Which is, by the way,
no.
one head with the other head in its mouth, I think, if you look at it.
No. So I thought it was two heads, and then there's the. Oh no, you're right. It is the third head. The third head is the second form.
Yeah.
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 And its second form has two jaws.
Yeah, that's
if
what
that
it
makes
is,
any
yeah.
sense.
So
yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, there is like a spiky underbelly on this Hydra, very similar to the Gaping Dragon.
Very much
right?
so. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. It all comes back. And Dork Souls. Yeah, the cool boss fight. I mean, similar to a lot of things, like a massive version of like the bone skeletons and other Castlevania games, but covered in pink flesh, and a really cool screen spanning attack that you've really got to avoid. So it does some neat environmental stuff that I thought was pretty cool for a boss fight.
Because one shoots out a big thing of flame, the other shoots out these kind of poisonous bubbles that you have to pop.
And then they have a huge like area of attack. Like
once you pop them, they can damage you greatly from a pretty decent distance. So it's kind of
and this is a prime example of a boss fight where the experience fighting the boss changes dramatically depending on the ally that you select.
Yeah, big time.
Right? I mean, it goes without saying for Alfred. I mean, he's kind of you're not doing much.
Yeah.
with
you have to
him.
be really close to the heads to hit him with his little cane.
Yeah. Even with Zangetsu, he's a little bit hard to hit.
Yeah, he's got a real short range, and you really put yourself into a dangerous spot. And I like the kind of floor of spikes, and then you've got or the overhead attack, and then you've got just a moment to place yourself, and you can't jump too far off of that platform, because it makes getting back onto that platform to avoid the sort of cascading wave of spikes.
If you don't have Miriam,
challenge.
it's a long boss fight.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I did. One thing we didn't really mention, and I when you mentioned Miriam here, I feel like this is an important note, is that the sort of strategy of this game, being that you have 4 allies, you essentially have 4 full bars of health.
Yeah, more or less.
More or less. I mean, different allies have a default,
and you can increase
larger
those
amount of
bars
health.
in certain parts of the game.
You can, and it's cool because as you play through the game, you kind of have to commit to that, because if you pick up the permanent health increase with Alfred, he now has more health than he had before, but the other allies don't experience that.
I looked at I tested that. It gains for everybody.
Oh, does it?
Does
oh,
it
that's a
really?
huge difference.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I
Okay.
tested it.
I had no
Yeah.
idea. I definitely don't remember Alfred getting any more health.
Well,
though. I mean, I'm not denying.
He didn't
it,
have much
but,
to start with. I just thought I want to look up. Somebody's got to have done an all Alfred run at some point.
Oh
That
yeah,
would
I'd
be
love to
great.
see.
That's the beauty of the internet. Is this game has been out not like a couple weeks, and we're already like, yeah, I'm sure someone's already recorded this very
Right.
challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the very next day, Sendra or somebody had posted on Twitter that there was already a speed run of this game.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep.
You know, like somebody had, I mean, because all you really have to do to is just beat the game,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
And post a video of it, and then no one's beat that
That's
speed.
true. Yeah.
You are that world
Yeah,
record.
you're that guy. Yeah. Okay. So that's Blasphemy Unto Heaven. Sunder the Night, another awesome stage title. Another stage that I cannot remember
It's
for
the,
some reason.
It's the ship.
Yeah.
So the ship.
It's the ship.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And a great level, but I don't feel like the name fits it very well. I mean,
I don't either. And I think, well, I mean, it's fully night at that point.
Sure, yeah.
Super dark. So the the compliment I paid the game with the frigid hell not causing you to slip every move you make is kind of taken away with this game or with this stage.
takes it right back.
It takes it right back. But it's neat because it's kind of like, is it Ninja Gaiden 2?
Yeah. With
I think,
That has the wind
Yep.
stage where it's like,
Yep.
you know, and so so there's a stage you're on a ship. I like ship stages. I mean, since we've been doing the show, it feels like we played like 3 or 4 games so far that
Yeah,
have had ship
definitely.
stages.
it's starting
in
to seem
them.
intentional
And,
at this point.
Yeah, and it was never like a thing that I was super aware of as a kid, but like now as I'm playing them as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I there's something, I don't know, it just feels good to
It's an
have these
easy
sort of ship
it's an
stages.
easy fun locale to have, and you can always put
Yeah.
a pirate or something in there. You know.
Yeah, definitely. So wooden ship stage, not too much we can talk about. One of my favorite enemies of the game, I believe, is introduced in this stage, which is the treasure chest with a giant purple spider inside of it. You know, kind of reminiscent of
Not to be
mimics,
confused by
from-
the Venus flytrap with a giant woman inside it.
Yeah.
No.
There was a cool mini boss. I think this was the first level to have a mini boss, if I'm not mistaken.
It
And that was
is.
very
Let's
Mega
talk
Man.
about that.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah,
Mega
yeah.
Man to have like a big like screen. Yeah, just like the one screen for
lock
one
you.
enemy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they lock you in, and it's like a floating painting, and it's kind of cool.
And that comes back later in the game too. And it's also, I assume you guys surely have been attacked by the painting successfully.
Yeah.
Meaning
Yeah.
that the painting has killed
Yeah,
you?
it's an instant
Absolutely.
kill.
Instant kill. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's cool is that like you can whack the thing, right? And I'm not sure how many hits it takes to
It's like 4 or
destroy
5.
it. But if you have Alfred and Alfred has the ice equipped, you can
Boom.
hit the painting with the
Yeah.
ice and then a one-hit kill with it. And a lot of enemies respond that way.
Yeah, even the big ones like
which is
golems
really cool.
and
Yep,
stuff like
who
that.
have like 5 or 6
Hits,
hit points,
yeah.
I guess we'll call it. Yeah. Yep, so you make your way through this ship and you make your way to the crow's nest,
Yeah.
right?
It's up the mass, I guess.
It's up the mast,
Right.
yeah, where you fight the final boss of the stage.
Really cool boss, by
and-
the way.
Yeah, how would you describe this boss, Frank?
I would call it, if it doesn't have this name, I would call it this name, Thunderbird.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
it's
the
kinda
mythical
got a bird
creature, the
motif, right?
Thunderbird. You know, like he kind of flows around. He does lightning attacks.
Yeah, he drops down like arrows into the mast, and then they attract lightning bolts. And then he's kind of like, if you compare, there are a little few Mega Man parallels here. He's kind of like the Storm Eagle of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh
He
yeah,
flies
yeah,
around
definitely. Yeah, the wind helps with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
I
right?
mean,
And
that's
his,
basically why.
Yeah, and he has this great final, like his final blow is like it gets all colorful, like rainbow colors. It's so crazy.
Yeah. The last
I don't know if
attack
you
he
guys
does,
remember that.
yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, it's. I was not expecting that because on his back he has like these. I don't know what you call it, feathers or hair or
Quills
I
or
don't know,
something. Yeah.
quills.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're kind of like they're glowing like rainbow colors, and it's like super cool. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's you don't see that much into like these gothic type games. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing that, I mean, in case you haven't pieced it together by listening to this, this game doesn't veer as far as stages go too far from the Castlevania formula, but these bosses are just so wacky.
And they're all really, I think they're all
you know,
better designed than a lot of Castlevania bosses. Just because,
Agreed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're very pattern based, and once you figure out the pattern, like Brian said earlier, you do have to memorize a few things and be prepared for instant attacks that'll come out of nowhere. But once you know how to beat them, I think they're more fair than your average. Because a lot of the Castlevania bosses, to me, especially the early ones, are just kind of whack fests where you're just trying to notch them down before they can notch you down, kind of like Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
And not to mention talking about fairness. I mean, even on this game. So we didn't mention that there's a couple of difficulty options just from the get go.
And you can change. You can change at any time.
At any time,
right on the
and
fly,
that's really neat. I mean, I'd never used it, but I really like that idea for people that might not be hardcore fans of these types of games. It definitely gives a broader entry into this.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can change the difficulty. I'm not entirely sure what the casual mode gives you other than the lack of knockback.
There's infinite life.
Infinite lives, yeah.
Infinite lives.
Infinite lives. Okay.
Also, I played around with it. It seems like there's more health drops as well.
Oh, that could make sense.
Yeah. Okay. So once the ship has landed across the water, you end up on a shore with a stage referred to as
Tragedy of Slaughter.
Tragedy of Slaughter. Yeah. And so this is essentially like a mansion. I think what we'll call it, like a manor of some sort, right?
I guess Mansionvania.
Yeah. So let's talk about the importance of this stage. This is like at this point in the design cycle, they must have said, you know what? Let's just make a Castlevania.
Well, yeah, because and this is like the part at the end of the second half or last third of every Castlevania game, or a lot of them, where it's like now you're in the castle proper.
Yeah,
it's time to take it to not Dracula.
Exactly. Right. And also in Castlevania lore, there is the sort of Elizabeth Bathory parallel, right? I mean, I can't even think of... Yeah. And this game does the best job of that, I think.
Yeah. This whole level is a slaughterhouse if you look at the background. Like it's
it's full
torture
of nasty
devices and like Iron Maidens and cages and blood splatter on the walls and skeletons hanging on chains and
all the stuff you want, like as a fan of these games.
Yeah.
But specifically, what I'm referring to is the boss.
She's great.
She's great, and her intro is fantastic. I mean, she's called Bloodless, right? Is that so she's credited as being called Bloodless. It is a woman in a giant alabaster bathtub, like a freestanding four-legged kind of a bathtub. Yeah, claw tub.
Yeah.
And she's bathing in blood, a la, Elizabeth Bathory. And she, comes out of it. I don't know. I've always found that character of Elizabeth Bathory, the idea of, taking villagers and killing virgin girls and bathing in their blood to stay young. Man, that's one of the finest supposedly real things that
it's the most gothic thing ever.
ever. Yeah. And probably informed a whole bunch of vampire lore.
Absolutely.
Actual vampire
definitely.
lore. Yeah.
And her gimmick is really cool too, like these umbrellas that are flying around that you have to use as platforms and stuff. It's great.
Yeah. So to paint the stage of the room, the umbrellas, there's 3 of them stacked on top of each other, but they float left and right into different speeds and or whatever. And at least they're in different positions most of the time. But when you hit them, they stop. So you can kind of plan out your attacks. So she's always floating at the top of the screen, so you want to get up there to hit her. So
and she will rain blood on
you. And if you're not under and what's cool is you have to get under the umbrellas when she fills the screen with blood. I don't know. I thought that was such a cool gimmick.
What I like,
awesome.
The best thing I liked about this is that when you first start off, the whole place is gray, it's clean, and as the first blood rain falls in, the whole level turns red. It just coated everything with blood, and that's so cool. I find that that is
a really neat detail.
Yeah.
I also love the fact that seemingly that these umbrellas, they're blood themselves. They're red, and it's they look nasty. So the idea of a congealed blood umbrella protecting you from burning, falling blood. It's just it just gets better and better.
I really hope that they reference all these characters in the full game,
Me too.
in the lore somehow, because they have to be some sort of importance to be.
I wouldn't be upset one bit if this full game is just this, a blown out version of this. right? Like, just give me all of these stages, give me all of these enemies, give me all of these bosses.
I've seen this boss in Ritual of the Night, so I'm wondering if that is the case, or if some of the bosses.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, she's like shown in like screenshots.
Oh,
okay. The only thing that makes me think that they're definitely going to do something different is the idea that Jebel is, he's seemingly an antagonist or something.
I don't think they're going to retread this game, but I wonder if we might see Bloodless come back, or some of their bosses come back for more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
The next level has my favorite enemy in the game.
Okay, lay it on us. What's this next stage?
The Book of the Dead. It's like it's the obviously the ripoff of the book from
Evil Dead?
Symphony of the Night in the library, but but it has a face on it like the one in the Evil Dead. Like it looks exactly like it, and it has like the Sumerian text that comes out of it. Like it's great.
Yeah, it comes out of it and it swirls around in like a sort of like a vortex. Like it goes out, it spins around, and then it comes back into the pages and then goes back out again.
Maybe that has something to do with the stage title, Defiler of Taboos.
Ooh.
Yeah. I believe it.
See if the scale list lives in this place, definitely.
Easily. So you've got some areas that are very library-esque.
Oh, it's essentially
it's essentially one big library. I mean, you've got
invisible or reappearing, disappearing platforms.
Yeah.
That are books.
Yep.
Very Mega Man-y, but fun.
Yep.
Yeah, fun. Definitely not frustrating.
No.
Some neat areas in this stage, if I'm not mistaken, that have some platforms that are like. Is that what you're referring to when you say the Mega Man ones, the disappearing ones, or the ones that like move through the area?
No, I'm talking about the ones that go in and out of the bookcase.
Yeah, the disappearing, like the orange and blue ones.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So because this stage also has the disappearing, reappearing ones, where it's like the red one or the
that's the one I was talking about.
And then the blue one.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking more of like the ones on the conveyor, so to speak.
Yeah. There's the conveyor belt ones.
Yeah.
And there's a mini boss in this one again. Another painting.
Yeah. And what's cool is that the paintings are different.
Yeah. This one looked like it has. I never took the time to look at it, but this one looks like Iga. It's a guy with a cowboy hat.
I was going to say, the second one has a cowboy hat, and I wonder if that's intentional.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. And
I wonder if the first one is the composer, because it's a woman in the first picture.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if it's Yamane, huh?
Yeah.
So another slight detail of the paintings is that when they get you, if they get you, and they kill you, the image in the painting is whichever character you were controlling being destroyed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only got killed by them once because I was so frantically trying to kill the painting whenever I would come back because I just didn't want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. So library.
I mean, other than that, it's a pretty well made.
Leads you up to the tower proper of the sort of the clock tower area, we can call it, even though it's not really a clock tower. The not clock tower.
Sure.
It's kind of like the double duty for this one.
Yeah.
And so this was the stage, if I'm not mistaken, that has the
Chimera-esque.
For sure. Yeah, that's in there. But I'm also thinking that this might have been the stage that had the door that I could not figure out a way to open.
Yeah, it has like it's like a door before a door kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But nevertheless, you end up at the final boss in this area is kind of like a chameleon, and another excellent reveal for a boss. So you've got Bloodless. She's in a bathtub, and like I think her leg is like literally dipping out of the bathtub.
Yeah.
Kind of like, in that sort of pose. And with this guy, he is floating at the top of the library reading a book. And then as you step into the room, he like appears and then like closes the book.
There's a lot of style, really cool. Like little like touches like that in this game that I love.
Yeah.
And he's ready to go down. Like he's ready to rock.
No, you interrupted his reading.
The cardinal sense.
He's pissed. Yeah. But no, cool design, very kind of like Sentai villain.
This one is the most Mega Man-y.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Sting Chameleon or something, probably because you said chameleon. But
yeah.
But this like hanging on the walls and like stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then he's got some neat environmental aspects to his attacks, like most of these enemies. But he telegraphs it in such a way that makes you move around in like a quick, frantic sort of. It's not like get under the shelter for Bloodless. It's more like he's targeted with these like giant red crosshairs. Yeah. Which platforms he's going to be hitting. So, and it's typically the furthest one away is the not affected one. Yeah. And so you've got to hop over there quickly and get onto it in order to save
while
yourself
avoiding
blasted.
Yeah, while avoiding projectiles that are bouncing around.
And then when you do get onto the safe spot, he basically just wrecks the whole room except for that spot. And what's one of the coolest attacks that I've ever seen. And then you have maybe a split second after that to get off the safe space before he comes down and smashes it.
It's a very Dragon Ball Z. Like lightning moves around the room. It's really
once
cool.
you figure out that boss's pattern, it's one of the most satisfying to fight.
Definitely, yeah. Well, okay, so that leads us to the last stage, stage 8 of the game, appropriately called Curse of the Moon. And this is a very traditional castle tower kind of a stage.
This is like I thought it was a pretty straightforward, but actually no, this is the first, it isn't straightforward because, is this the one?
This is the one that has the quick man.
Yeah, with like swarms of, like, I think they're swarms of bugs.
Like pestilent kind of.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like posting in chat like being annoyed with that the first time, right?
Again, and this is what it's kind of like those bosses. Like if you didn't know this was coming, like as soon as you know this is coming, it's like okay, I can deal with this. If you didn't know this was coming, you're done.
Yeah, and you can't jump down. You have to go like you have to like go the stairs. Or whatever.
Just to kind of like paint this for the I don't know. Hopefully, people have had a chance to play this, but if not. As you're making your way through the stage, there'll be all of a sudden pests will, a big swarm of pests will burst through one of the walls and make a pattern, make their way through that area, and you have to get out of the way or you'll take damage. And then they do a specific pattern each time, but then there'll be rooms where they kind of like the wall of death in some games where they'll be coming up behind you and filling the room up, and you have to race to the opposite side. Or in one of the most fun and least dangerous sequences is the one where you're descending a huge staircase and they're coming down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's a fun part. Right. Yeah, the one that kept getting me was definitely, at least in my opinion, the most difficult section of this when you're dealing with that swarm is the stage or the area of the stage that gives you the 1-up.
Yes.
And so like you can get the 1-up, but stopping to get the 1-up, if you're not using Miriam, you got your work cut out for you. You can use Jebel and turn into a bat, but you're probably going to be too slow to transform back and you're going to die. So it's kind of like just a fun temptation. It's like, do you take the 1-up or do you just try to just make a beeline across?
Yeah. It's a risk versus reward kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's neat to see something like that so late in the game.
And like I remember dying is like, I would have been upset if I didn't have like a dozen lives already. So like that's something about the difficulty of the game. Like by the time you get to the final stage, like you have like, almost 10 lives, if not more.
Yeah, no, easily. Yeah. And that's even playing it, that's playing it veteran. And then Nightmare after that, kind of a similar experience.
This is the level that's not in Nightmare, right?
No, this isn't. This is in Nightmare. Yeah, this is in the first playthrough.
Stage 9 is the first part of this is in the normal is in Nightmare, and then you get to what would be the.
We'll get to it later, but
oh no, you're right. With the swarm part is not in Nightmare.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Because it's a different boss, because that's actually part of the boss.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, the swarm part's definitely. Okay. I'm sorry. I was getting the difficulties. I thought you guys were talking about veteran. I was like, no, this is the first playthrough. No, you're right.
Yeah, it's second playthrough.
It's not.
On Nightmare.
It's not the second playthrough. This stage is not at all.
Right. This whole level is.
Which I was actually glad, but we'll get to that.
So let's talk about the boss in this. So you get to this boss in a giant antechamber kind of thing, right? And
I wanted to note that you descend stairs to get to the boss. It's not like Castlevania where you go up some stairs.
I didn't even notice. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. But it's not Castlevania, so
yeah, exactly.
It's not. So
you actually descend stairs and then you
go back.
You ascend.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right about that. Yeah.
The fake out. So you fight this assumingly the big bad demon, right? I mean, you're not giving him too much about him.
I couldn't even find a name for the final boss.
I was gonna say, I'm looking there and I'm not really seeing anything.
Yeah.
But it is very fallen angel-esque in its sort of grandiose presentation. You've got a boss that sort of floats in the screen that has a big wide attacks, with its floating around it or like shooting across the room. And you can take it out, especially once you understand those its limited number of attacks on the first form. You can blast it pretty quickly, and I found it, even for me, it wasn't too difficult to get it down to where I just didn't get hit in that first form.
Just before this first form, sorry to go back a little bit, but did you find the secret area before it with that's right past the stairs? It's so the stairs that go up to this boss, if you jump, there's a gap, and then there's an invisible platform that leads over to an area with a bunch of hearts and probably arguably the best weapon for Alfred, which is his tracking ball, the lightning ball.
Yeah, I don't think I did find that.
Yeah, you'll notice next time you play, when you get to there, when you ascend the stairs, you'll see some candles out to the right, and you can just basically. I thought you'd have to use the bat to get over there, but you can just jump over an invisible gap. Okay. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Wow, I used the bat. Yeah, interesting.
So you fight this final boss. The final boss flies off into the ceiling, and the entire room starts to follow after into this tower. And once you reach at the top, there's a moon motif up there, as you would imagine, and a completely different set of attacks. Very, very environmental based.
And the boss grabs the moon.
And literally takes the moon out of the sky. And what's neat is that this boss, it takes the moon out of the sky, and depending on what the current state of the moon cycle is, it telegraphs its attacks accordingly. Yeah. So like a full moon does one thing, a crescent moon does another thing, a half moon does another thing, and so on. Really cool, really satisfying. Took some doing on my part, I didn't grind me too hard, but
it took me quite a few tries.
It took me a few.
Although
it's
worth
attempts.
noting that there's a forever one up before the final boss.
Correct,
which is great.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's because why punish your player who got this far? I don't know. I just really like that. I don't feel it makes it too easy.
Yeah, because you still have to beat both forms in a row.
Yeah, totally. So you beat the boss. You do what Zangetsu set out to do.
The end, show over.
Yeah.
The end. Game over. Let's stop recording. No. Something interesting happens. Zangetsu decides to stick around,
I guess,
and becomes possessed himself. And you get prompted. You get a little cutscene, if I'm not mistaken. And it becomes Zangetsu, the main protagonist, becomes the ultimate final boss. And so you're able to start the game over. You start with Miriam, Alfred, and Jebel, and now their goal becomes to save their friend, if possible, and if not, to destroy him. Man, I love that.
That's a great twist. Yeah.
Really,
and
really
it
cool.
immediately presents a new challenge where it's like, well, now try playing this game with 3 characters and not using Zangetsu at all.
To be fair, he's not.
I mean, I actually used him almost the least.
He's not.
Yeah,
more like a damage sponge than.
Yeah.
So playing through the game a second time would be fine as is. Fighting your way back to the top of the tower would be fine as it is. But this game pulls the old switcheroo on you, and in the best way possible. And you get to this final stage, and it is completely different.
Yeah, and it's by far the best stage in the whole game.
I'm gonna argue that.
I'm just talking about visually, because it turns from a Gothic European style into a old Japanese style.
Yes,
agreed.
And
agreed on that.
And there's
part.
There's even some kind kind of samurai style Oni
and like
warriors.
Oni warriors, Tengu kind of stuff, and like temples, and
because you're like breaking some sort of seal on Zangetsu himself, who I assume is Japanese.
Yeah. And if you look at because I'm looking at his design art right now, his sword, his sheath, and his arm that is kind of like holding his sword is full of these papers that have like kanji or something written on it. So I think there's seals to hold,
which is appropriate because he uses seals in the game as
and I think his the power up that gives double power is it's like a mask. It almost looks like an Oni mask, right?
Yeah, it's like giving in to the demon. Kind of
and I hope that next game, the full game, has more of less of a European. I don't want to go full samurai because there's going to be too many samurai games coming out.
Boy, are there.
But a mix between both. I like that idea.
I'm a fan of that too. I love that. Like I think of Fear Effect as a game where it mixed that element of like Western style with like the whole Asian, or not Asian, I don't want to just lump it all together, but like, you know what I mean?
Chinese
it was like Chinese specifically, right? Like,
Brandon,
just cool stuff.
Hit me up with that stage title.
That stage title, stage 9, is called Fallen Moon's Requiem.
Great.
Really cool.
Very fitting
really
with
effective.
the whole story and everything.
Totally. So the literal flames of hell, you make your way through. And the reason that I wanted to argue that this is not the best stage in the game is that it's not really a traditional stage.
No.
Like, the game is essentially rewarding you with a very cinematic experience at the end of your second effort.
It's really
playthrough.
cool. It's very different. Yeah.
It's really cool. I won't argue. I love it. I think it's awesome. It's such a satisfying way to like reward a player for playing through a second time, like no other game I've ever seen.
The design looks like all those games on the NES that never made it stateside, like Monster Party. Well, Monster Party did.
Oh yeah,
but Monster Party and like Demon Sword and all these like games that I remember playing on emulators and stuff and going like, oh man, what the hell? This looks so cool. But we never saw that kind of imagery over here. But they nailed it. Like all these like
like that, the whole yokai hellscape
stuff.
kind of.
And what's cool is once you get to the, is it okay to jump to this part? The end of the stage. There's basically a gate with 3 seals on it, so you have to split up each of your characters, Miriam, Alfred, and Jebel, and go to different rooms, and you're only those characters through those areas. So each one is kind of designed around their strengths.
Yeah, thankfully.
Exactly. And like, because at first I was like, oh, I don't want to play a whole Alfred section, but thankfully you can get his little fire wheel protection thing, and you can, if you're smart with timing it and getting more of the vials, you can basically make it through this room continually using that and taking down smaller enemies with it, and just platforming. Great. It's really fun.
And they all have like little mini bosses that are like, they look nothing like the other bosses. Like they're all like very Japanesey.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's almost like,
just
here's my
cool.
my lore deep dive. It's almost like when Zangetsu took over the power, he transformed the castle to his own style and liking.
I think that's kind of what Brian was saying with like unlocking
that totally makes sense. I'm basically just stealing Brian's idea and taking credit for it. So much like Zangetsu did with the power.
Fun fact.
much like Koji did with this game.
Oh my god, it's full circle. Fun fact: David Hayter is voicing Zangetsu in the full game.
Yes, Solid Snake himself.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
Yeah, that's a cool.
So that reveals that he's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, in that 15 minutes, you just see Miriam,
you assume
hell.
Yeah. So you split your party up, control each of them. Really neat, really cinematic. Everything comes back together. The team makes their way through. The game throws all the items and health and 1-ups and all the stuff that you need to beat this boss.
That pre-boss room is really cool too. I don't know if you guys, obviously you guys noticed, but it's like 4. I guess like Mary. It kind of looks like Mary, like statues, but they all got like cut at a diagonal.
Oh, I hadn't noticed.
Yeah. It's like Zangetsu stormed through there and he's like, I hate these statues. Sick of this European aesthetic.
Totally.
Because his form, he has like a scythe for a hand, right? So it looks like he just like sliced right through all of them, and it's
Speaking of which, can we please talk about his entrance in this?
So good, man. Yeah, so awesome. So you come into the stage, and they actually, if I'm not mistaken, they animate the sprites and of the protagonist characters of Miriam, Alfred, and Jebel in a back-facing direction.
They're all like looking
which
towards...
is like something you have not seen before in this game, which is really
I
effective.
think it's the same sprites that they use at the ending where they're facing the castle.
Well, after this, meaning after they beat it, or meaning after... Yeah. But up to this point, you have not seen this.
I don't think so.
And so, really cool. Zangetsu sitting on his throne of hell, and tosses his katana into the air, and instead of it coming down and him catching it, a sort of fleshy Cronenbergian bio nightmare, Akira, like launches into the air. He clutches it, and his arm
absorbs
and
it,
the katana like becomes a scythe. So cool.
And at the same time, he throws daggers to stun Gebel and not Alistair, Alfred.
Alfred,
yeah. Though Alistair would have been a better name.
I keep thinking of Batman with Alfred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Alfred does in between like Ninja Batman.
But this boss fight is so great because all of a sudden Alfred or Gebel will come out of their zonk out to help you out fight some of his attacks. And that is like, I was just seeing it just makes me go, oh yes, that's amazing.
Yeah. With Jebel, like he literally creates a platform or a pair of platforms of his bats for you to like stand on and avoid the attacks. And then Alfred does. It would have been cool to see Alfred do something different, but we'll go ahead and transition into the very final scene of the game, which consists of you as Miriam and Jebel as himself, protecting Alfred while Alfred creates a spell, a ritual to seal Zangetsu back into his, whatever.
And did you all fail
cool.
protecting him at all? Because it's so awesome.
Yes. I did.
Basically,
I did once or twice.
As he's making this seal, Zangetsu is desperately trying to shoot these skulls toward him to stop him. And if you let one of them reach the seal or reach Alfred or whatever, then basically Zangetsu wins and he instantly kills you all.
Yeah, and he turns into like a kind of like a werewolf.
Yeah, crazy demon.
Right. Yeah, right. And that's that. Unfortunately, Zangetsu's friends were not able to save his body or his soul. Well, maybe his soul.
Yeah, they save his soul. I think. I think that can be assumed.
Yeah. But that's the end of that, and you are left as the trio, and you sort of stand overlooking in true Castlevania fashion, overlooking the castle tower as
mansion.
As it's destroyed. The McMansion. And that's that. So that leaves us with a completed game. However, as if this game, the $10, $20, how much was this game?
$10.
$10. As if your $10 wasn't, as if you didn't get enough value out of that $10. This game goes on to give you other ways to play it, which continue to change the storyline. Nothing quite as elaborate as the Nightmare mode, but you can play through this game as Zangetsu, and when it becomes time to ally forces with with Miriam and company, you can just outright kill them.
Yeah, or just walk past them.
If you kill them, Zangetsu's post-stage dialogue changes, and it's interesting because like he seems to have some conflicting feelings about not teaming up with them, and you just get a little taste of that. And I thought that was
most
really
importantly,
cool.
you get their power.
Exactly. And so Zangetsu is fine by himself. I will say that playing Zangetsu, like I'm in the process of playing through this mode. Zangetsu is. He's a little challenging. Like there are definitely certain areas where Miriam makes this game a cakewalk, and Zangetsu, like some of the platforming, and but you're given their powers. I kind of thought it would be a little different for Alfred. Have you guys done this at all?
I've gone all the way through this mode as Zangetsu.
Yeah, same here.
So yeah, Alfred, you don't get any magic, and you get a thing that Alfred does not do. Like,
Yeah,
which
you
is
don't
to
really
say,
absorb
like
their
a-
powers. You just gain.
You take their soul basically,
all
and like you
power.
get another
Yeah.
skill, which is
Yeah,
Their
right.
essence.
sometimes somewhat related to them. Like, is Miriam the one who gives you the double jump? Which
Yeah.
kind of makes
Yeah.
sense.
So that, yeah. What does Jebel give you if you kill him? I haven't done that yet. I mean, I guess I don't mind being spoiled.
Is that the double dash?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It's
you
basically
can run
like it's kind of
faster?
like it makes him like an Alucard dash, not Alucard, but like copyright.
Yeah,
copyright.
a high speed dash.
Yeah,
It's called.
where if you
You double
you
tap.
either double tap or press or hold like the A button, and you'll dash across the screen or just run a little faster.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
that's
cool.
It,
I mean,
it
is that
useful
useful?
in a couple places because you can do a longer jump if you combine that with the. And the
okay.
nice thing is he has my preferred type of double jump, which is the one where you can press the second jump at any moment in his arc.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's
yeah,
the way to do
and
that.
it's
for
like
sure.
because he's a very it saves you a lot in some of the tricky areas because you can jump back. Kind of like it's like a mix. It's like the best of both worlds as far as double jumps go.
Awesome. Well, I guess we should definitely mention the the other hero of this game, and that's to say the
Yes.
soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Holy moly! Some of the catchiest chiptunes I've heard in a long time.
It has every game that has a good soundtrack has a really good first stage song, and this is an all-timer as far as I'm concerned because it really nails that horror vibe of just kind of these like these like heavy striking chords like
Yeah.
that stick. And to this day, I'll walk around not even having played the game in a few days. I'll walk around just like humming to myself those like sharp, like dun, 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 dun. It's so cool.
Oh yeah, it's excellent. A sort of who's who. Well, maybe that's not fair. Let's not say who's who. Looking at their credits list, some very accomplished Japanese composers, helmed by Miss Michiru Yamane. Apologies for the pronunciation. Excellent job on her part.
Yeah.
Still got it. Same composer of many other Castlevania titles. Got her start, if I'm not mistaken, with Symphony of the Night, and that's one of my all-time favorite soundtracks. Yeah, she just really, really knocked it out of the park.
I wonder if Vert was involved in this at all. I'm curious.
He's listed on the Kickstarter.
Does he have some
He did,
association with?
By the way, her first Castlevania game was Bloodlines on Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a
All
great
right.
soundtrack.
Yeah, which is like,
Yeah.
and that
Definitely.
kind of shares a lot in common with this one, I think, just as far as kind of evil sounding music goes.
Because
Definitely.
he's slated to be doing some stuff for the mainline game.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he is listed on the Kickstarter as one of the stretch goals, but I don't know if he was involved with this one.
Yeah, because if he's not involved directly, I think he's involved in some way or another, at least format wise, because this is definitely made using the actual VRC6. Like this is not a fake out like samples or anything like that. I would put money on it.
You think they used hardware?
Maybe not hardware, but I would put money on using FamiTracker.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's pretty much 100% legit. If they did it with samples, it's good. Like they did a really good job. But I would put money that he gave them probably his source file for Shovel Knight and not Bloodstained, Blood Rain, because he did a.
Oh, right.
He did
It
one for
definitely
that
reminded
as
me of
well.
like there was some Shovel Knight touch to it, and also the I think it was the Brilliant Void. I was actually like, this sounds like a Norrin Rad song.
There's
yeah.
one of
It's
the
got some vibe at the
There's
times,
one of the
sure.
songs, and I think it's level 3.
That's
level 3 or 4.
Level 3 is the Brilliant Void, so it might.
That sounds like a riff from that band with the woman that sings. I know this sounds stupid.
Walls of Jericho.
No, close, close.
Evanescence.
Oh my God, Evanescence. Yes, yes. It goes like dun 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 dun.
Now you have a third or fourth title as our lore guy, our cartographer, and our official Evanescence source.
But every time I hear that song, that first opening riff on like it's like a heavy guitar, but it's the same rhythm and note pattern as that big song that they had. I can't remember the name of the song.
Wake me up inside.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, that one.
No, is that Evanescence?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Every time I hear that song,
Right.
I'm like, oh my God.
Well, better than Evanescence.
Absolutely better than
say the
Evanescence.
soundtrack is, but yeah, that stage, the Brilliant Void in particular, that's one that's probably my favorite track of the game, maybe next to the first one. So maybe I just need to start listening to Evanescence.
Maybe that's your new jam.
Finally.
Yeah, maybe. But finally,
this whole thing was an elaborate way to convince you to start listening to Evanescence. It took 16 episodes.
Well. Well, okay. Unless there's anything else that anybody wants to cover,
I'm pretty sure.
I feel like we dove pretty deep.
Yeah,
into
we're sucking the bones. I think we're dry.
This is our deepest dive since Moon Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm happy with it too.
2 hour,
All right,
2 hour special.
We've got a little something else here, so let's go ahead and move on into
Doki Doki Power Line.
That's right, it's Doki Doki Powerline, where we plug you into the source for the hottest gamer tips and tricks. The winner of this episode's Powerline Pro Tip comes from Zangetsu.
Hi, I'm going to tell you how to unlock the extra modes. After beating the game on normal mode, you'll unlock Nightmare mode, which continues the story and gives you immediate access to all the characters except for me, Zangetsu. I don't want to spoil too much about the experience to come, but to make your way toward unlocking Ultimate mode, try being needlessly cruel to those who wish to join you at the end of the first 3 stages. That's right. Kill the bastards! If you're bold enough to beat both Nightmare and Ultimate mode, you'll unlock the boss rush. But beware, there are more secrets that yet lie beyond these.
All right, and there you have it. Thank you, Cursed Swordsman Zangetsu. And that brings us to the point in the show where we announce our next title. And if I'm not mistaken, we're back on track. And the selection goes to our dear friend, Frank Martin. Frank, what do you got? What are we playing next?
We're going to be going into another direction, but still 2D, still platforming, still action. Monster World 4 for Sega Genesis.
Okay, so now begins the part of the show where we kind of pull it all together, and we get the pros and cons, roses and thorns from each and every member of the Doki Doki Game Club. And I would like, so we've had a bit of a love fest here. That's no lie. I came out guns blazing, but there surely has to be something that each of you did not like in this game. And I'd like to go ahead and start with Frank on that one. Well,
it's very hard. I wouldn't say it's a perfect game, because I am not a huge fan of Castlevania 3. As much as I like Castlevanias, and not saying that this is a direct Castlevania 3, but there's some little things that I was like, I don't want to keep playing this. Like, I don't know. It didn't grab me as much as obviously you guys, and I don't know if it's just because I'm not a big fan of the original Castlevania games, but I did enjoy it immensely. So my negatives would be, it didn't fit to my taste, and I'm not going to give it any worse score because of that, but it didn't grab me as much as it should. But the positives is the thing that I like the most, that isn't the music or level or whatever, is how amazing the level design is for 2018 for a 2D game. Because you're looking at one playthrough normal, one playthrough with 4 characters, one playthrough with 1 character, one playthrough with, you can go back and do like kill 1, save 1, ignore 1, whatever.
Right.
So with all these different kind of mix matches of characters, you can keep playing the same levels, and they're kind of not that boring to play, because you can go to different areas that you haven't been able to before, and so on and so forth, especially like the first 4 level where you get the 4 first people. So I find that amazing, because most 2D games that we play nowadays have little to no like level design, and I feel like they really stepped it up. So congrats to those guys, whoever designed the game.
Right.
I don't know if it was Iga, probably not. But anyways, so I would give it a 4.5. It's great. And 4.5's hands with eyeballs inside of them. Out of fun.
Okay. Let's do Brian next.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of. I don't know. Kind of similar to Frank. Well, let me start with the good stuff first. Like, I would say the fact that it's the replayability of it is, I think, awesome. How there's different modes and yeah, that that's really a cool thing for me, and just seeing like that there's a boss rush mode and how people are doing they're doing speed runs of it is great. I would say, I mean, look, if this came out 20 years ago, this would be a 5. If you're taking into account that it's $10, it was an add-on free for me. It's a 5. If you're a Castlevaniac, is that what Castlevania fans are?
It is now.
Oh, God, I hope so.
But yeah, so it does stay very true to the Castlevania form, and it has kind of a stiffness of gameplay, which is fine for that. But yeah, for all that, I'm going to give it 4.5. Have at yous out of 5.
Excellent. Joseph.
Okay,
what do you got?
so we've talked for about 2 hours about how good this game is, and I think it's a fantastic game. I will say for downsides, I had a hard time thinking about what I don't like about this game, but that's my job here. So I'll say not all the characters fully click. Like, I don't think Alfred is really that fun to play as. He's there more by necessity, and I think they could have maybe made a more interesting third character that compels you to actually choose him, and not just to hey, I need to take a few hits. Let me switch to Alfred.
Right.
And there are a few underwhelming challenges. Like there's when you walk into for the first time you see a large ice golem, you're like, oh man, here it comes, and it's just not very hard to beat. So I kind of was hoping there would be a little more challenge in some of those intimidating enemies. Other than that, there's no other bad stuff about it. I would say on the good side, there's so much replayability and just instant replayability.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I beat this game and I was like, I want to get to the second ending now. There's more, like I have to see it through. And after that, I was like, I want to get another ending. Like it's just a very satisfying game to run through, and everything comes together so well, from the music to the enemy design and levels. It seems like an instant classic that just you never played from back in NES days, but better. And I think it's better than Castlevania 3.
Wow, yeah, that's a bold statement. I dare say, and I'm sure some.
I'm trying to ruffle some feathers, but I just think, as far as replaying these games go, like if I fired up Castlevania 3, I'd do it because I have fond memories of it, but not because I necessarily think that it's top to bottom incredible.
No, I'm with you. I mean, that might upset some people, but it may be my favorite non-Castlevania game.
Favorite Castlevania, not Castlevania.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Brandon?
What about your rating?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's get a rating.
You don't get a rating. Yeah, you get this. I'll give this 5 bats in my damn belfry out of 5.
Oh,
nice. Yeah. So let's see, pros and cons. I had an excellent experience with this game. I think my negative would probably be the challenge. I kind of take something that Joseph said there. It's just there's no mode in this game where this game just crushes you in the way that like certain Castlevania games or just any kind of 8-bit game of that sort of action platformer variety. There just aren't too many parts where you're just frustrated, throw a controller at a wall, kind of upset. And believe it or not, like I kind of like that. Like that's an experience. Like I mean, I don't want a lack of fairness, but I also want to really have to get the timing down for things. Kind of like with a Mega Man game, I guess. And this game lacks that. So maybe a little too easy, even on the hardest difficulty. So making that more tough and giving you a reason to play it on a level or on a difficulty that it is that tough beyond just saying that you did it might have been cool. Favorite aspect of the game is just how much of a Castlevania game this is. I mean, I love Castlevania. I mean, I guess as Brian said, I'm a Castlevaniac. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the series. I love that Koji Igarashi is involved in this. I love how honest and faithful, and how much further it takes those NES games, into a modern generation. And just without it going into some weird direction that doesn't feel authentic and retro and 8-bit. So kudos on the whole package to the team. And as far as rating goes, I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 blood bathing beauties. Because I just had an excellent time with it, and I recommend it to everybody. So that brings us to the point where we talk about, how do you get your hands on this? And because this is a new game and we've already established that it's $10, go buy it.
Yeah.
It's on everything.
The chances are, if you're listening to this, it's literally on everything, unless you are a complete, I don't know. I mean, you can even play it on PC, right?
Yeah. I played mine mostly on PC.
Same.
See, yeah, you can play this on everything. So there's no that $10 price point, the massive amount of value.
It costs less than going out to see a
movie
movie in the theater. So chew on that.
Exactly, and you'll get way more out of it.
Way more hours out of it too.
And that concludes episode 16 of Doki Doki Game Club. Before we go up against the member of our crew who turns out to be the real final boss, I want to thank my fellow monster-slaying muchachos for joining me today. Who are you guys, and where can people find you?
My name is Frank Martin. You can find me on Twitter at Hios_IO and on Twitch at Hios_.
And I'm Brian Grogan, aka Ken O. You can find me on Twitter at Ken O Shinobi.
I am Joseph Lesser. You can find me on Twitter at Moldylocks, and my website is subhumanzoids.com.
And if Twitter's your thing and you'd like to follow me personally, I am Genocide over there. That's DJINNOCIDE. And if you'd like to follow the show, you can do so on Twitter at Doki Doki GC. In addition to that, we're practically on every other social network online as well, so search for Doki Doki Game Club all across the World Wide Web, or head over to dokidokigameclub.com for further details. Thank you once again to everyone who continues to tweet about us using hashtag DokiDokiGC. Or shares a link to the show on Facebook. You are the wisp in the wind who ends up being our fiend-fighting friend. And last but not least, we have a Patreon. So if you have a couple of bucks you can spare and you would like to show us your support in that manner, you can head on over to patreon.com/Doki Doki Game Club, where we have some pretty neat rewards available to anyone interested in supporting us in that fashion. So, on behalf of Brian, Frank, Joseph, and myself, thanks for listening. And until next time, adios, Battletoads.